All right, welcome. If you're working with SQL, you already know it's a beast. But are you really using its full potential? Today, we're going to go way beyond the basic select statements and look at 4 advanced features that will really seriously level up your database skills. So let's dive right in. So, let me ask you, does this sound familiar? You spend, I don't know, ages crafting that perfect multi-table join with all these complex conditions, only to realize you have to write it or something almost identical again tomorrow? It's such a common headache, right? But what if I told you there's a way better way to handle this? So let's think of your SQL know-how like a toolkit. You've got your basics down, your hammers, your screwdrivers, but today we're adding the power tools: views, functions, triggers, and procedures. Each one is built for a very specific job, and knowing when to use which one, that's the real key to working smarter, not harder. Okay, so first up in our new collection is probably the simplest and most immediately useful tool, the view. I mean, if you're just looking to tame that wild, complex query, this is exactly where you want to start. So what is a view really? The best way to think of it is like a window into your data. And let's be super clear here, you're not making a new table. You're not duplicating any data. Nope. You're just saving a complex select query, giving it a simple name, and creating this kind of virtual table that always shows you the latest, most current data from the real tables underneath. And you know, what's so powerful about views is just how many problems they solve all at once. Yeah, the big one, the obvious one, is simplicity, hiding all those messy joins. But they're also, and this is huge, fantastic for security. You can make a view that only shows certain columns or rows, giving users access to only what they need to see. And that, in turn, guarantees consistency, because when everyone queries the same view, everyone is using the exact same pre-approved business logic. Okay, let's paint a picture of the before, the old way of doing things. To find all your active products, maybe you need to join your products table to your inventory table. Add a where clause to check the status. It might not be 100 lines long, but it's something you or your team ends up typing out all the time. It's super repetitive, and honestly, it's just asking for a typo to sneak in there. And here's the after, the payoff. Once you save that messy query as a view called active products, look at that. That simple line is all you or anyone on your team has to write ever again. All that nasty complexity is just hidden away. It's clean, it's readable, it's totally foolproof. I mean, come on, that is a massive quality of life upgrade. Okay, so let's grab our next tool from the box. This one kind of builds on the last one. Now, views are amazing for simplifying how you see the data, right? But what if you need to perform the same calculation over and over again? Well, that's where user-defined functions come into play. You know, you're already using functions constantly, probably without even thinking about it. Things like now to get the current timestamp or length to get the length of a string, those are SQL's built-in functions. So the big leap we're making here is going from using the database's functions to building our own custom functions that perfectly capture our specific business rules. So for instance, let's say you're always having to calculate the final price of an item, including tax. Instead of writing out that whole formula, price times quantity times 1 plus tax rate, in every single query, you can just build a function for it. You give it a name, tell it what information it needs, the price, the quantity, the tax rate, and what kind of number it's going to spit out. And the beauty is, once you build it, you use it just like any other function you already know, right inside your select statement. You can just create a brand new column in your results on the fly. The logic lives in one single place, but you can reuse it absolutely everywhere. So cool. But, okay, this is where functions really start to flex their muscles and show what they can do that a simple view can't. You can also use your custom function in a where clause. This means you can filter your data based on that complex calculated value. So here we're finding all the items where our calculated total is over 500. Now that is incredibly powerful stuff. All right, so we've simplified how we look at data, we've made our calculations reusable. Now let's talk about automation. This next tool, the trigger, it's kind of like setting up an alarm system for your database that automatically runs a bit of code whenever certain things happen. Now, I know creating a trigger sounds a little intimidating,
But it's really just a two-step deal. Seriously. First, you write a special kind of function that has all the actions you want to happen. Maybe it's logging a change or checking some data. Then, step 2, you just create the trigger itself, which is basically the rule that says, hey, run that function when this happens on this table. Simple as that. And when you're setting up that rule, you've got to decide on the timing. It's crucial. A before trigger, well, it runs before the data actually gets saved. Think of it as your bouncer at the door. It's your chance to check the data, maybe even change it, or just reject it completely if it doesn't meet your rules. An after trigger, on the other hand, runs after the change is already done. This is perfect for leaving a paper trail, for auditing, or for kicking off some other process. You also have to pick how often it fires, the granularity. For each row is what you'll use most of the time. It's exactly what it sounds like. Update 100 rows, the trigger fires 100 times, once for each and every row. For each statement is different. It only fires once for the whole command, no matter how many rows were touched. You'd use this for a broader rule, like, hey, you can't delete more than 50 rows at a time. All right, this brings us to the last, and I'd say most powerful tool in our kit, the stored procedure. So if a trigger is like one specific automated reaction, a procedure is like scripting an entire multi-step play, a whole business process into one single command. Okay, let's get this out of the way because it's the #1 point of confusion. What is the difference between a function and a procedure? A function has to return a single value, and you use it inside a query. A procedure can't return a value like that. You just call it to run. But honestly, the single most critical, game-changing difference is that procedures can handle transactions. And why does that matter so much? Well, think about something like transferring funds. It's 2 steps, right? Withdraw from account A, deposit to account B. Now, what if step 1 works, the money is withdrawn, but then the system crashes before step 2, the deposit? Oh no, the money's just gone, vanished into thin air. A procedure wraps this whole thing in a protective bubble. If any part of it fails, it hits rollback, and it's like nothing ever happened. This all-or-nothing deal is what we call being atomic. Phew! Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here. We've loaded up our toolkit with 4 really powerful new tools. So, with all these shiny new options, how do you know which one to grab? Let's break it down one last time. Okay, think of this as your official cheat sheet, your go-to guide. If you're just trying to simplify a crazy complex query, you want a view. If you need to reuse a specific calculation inside a query, you're going to build a function. If you need to automatically enforce a rule whenever data changes, that's a job for a trigger. And finally, if you need to run a whole multi-step process where everything has to succeed or it all fails together, you absolutely need a procedure. It's all about matching the right tool to the right job. So there you have it. We've unpacked the what, the why, and the when for all 4 of these SQL power-ups. So really the only question left is for you. As you think about your own work, your own projects, what's the first thing that comes to mind? What's that one query you're going to simplify, or that manual task you're finally going to automate? Thanks for watching.